Sam, welcome back to part two. The important thing is you were talking about the positive experiences that you'd had. Could you go back over that briefly?
Yes. Prior to being pulled into military impressment into these black ops groups, I had awesome cosmic experiences. I should say I also encountered there were some negative entities too on the astral plane that I encountered as well.
How did you go about that? How did all that whole experience develop and happen?
Yeah, a lot of it, believe it or not, it actually, a lot of it would occur it just happened to me. A whole lot of it occurred, honestly, just lying in bed. It would happen a lot in the morning, in fact, in early morning hours. That's when I experienced a number of different entities. But I got, as I say, more and more into metaphysics. And I sort of divorced myself from consensual reality, from the things that hold you back. When you start developing psychically, and that's one of the keys of it, you want to become more childlike. You want to deprogram and unlearn the things that stripped you down psychically, that strips everyone down, as we grow up, as we become quote unquote educated.
Yeah, that's something that Mary Rodwell referred to, is that the education system is designed to shut the starseeds down and give them problems. It's designed to do that globally.
Yeah, we're designed. It's really a very linear system with a very linear pathways, already pre-programmed, preset for your life path. Go to complete school, study this, go to college for that, get this job, get married, have children, go, do this, and then die. And so no one ever looks at it from a bigger picture. No one ever really looks outside the box very much. So,
or as they say, the Tesseract these days.
I'm sorry?
The Tesseract, the hypercube.
I'm not familiar with that.
Or maybe I'm not saying it correctly, but it's instead of a three-dimensional box, the Tesseract, I'll get it right, is a hyperdimensional box, a multi-dimensional box.
Right. I got you. Okay. But yeah, in answer to your question, a lot of it really just started happening to me. And as I say, I sort of divorced myself from reality and just started. And that's really the path you have to take if you want to do psi, if you want to do it right.
Did you do astral traveling?
Really open your mind up to explore. Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
To different dimensions, different realities.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, were you able to get past the interdimensional travel and then physically be a being in another world, for instance?
It's hard to thinking back on it. Like I said, all this has been completely cut off from me. I've been drained from it for a year and a half. But yes, actually yes. And I had, like I say, I had various types of ET contact. Some of it was waking, live. When I was actually, conscious. Some of it was a lot of it was in dream state too.
What type of ETs?
Well, we talked about light beings. And other types would be, and this would be a benevolent type, humanoids, human types. I would be at a house, basically some location or setting with people, just regular people. That's what they looked like, but they weren't. They were they were more than human. They were a lot more than human. They were magical. They were cosmic. They were a star. You know, whatever term you want to use. They were cosmic. It was on a cosmic plane. And I'm not. It's something that's sacred to me and private, and that's. I'm sorry, but that's one thing I don't. I don't talk about a lot.
Okay.
But they were human and friendly and family. Basically, they were family is what they were. And I'm not talking about dead relatives. Contact with dead relatives, which I think everyone has in their dreams. But they were different. There's another type too. Another type of ET alien. It's I know this might sound a little trite, when we talk about reptilians, but there is a type of reptilian in waking, a personified that exists here. I mentioned it in my book. And I'm not talking about the archons per se, walk-in types. I have had walk-in experiences too, big time, huge. In fact, it's sad to say, but at this point right now, in a sense, that's what I am as a cybernetic transhuman Frankenstein monstrosity that they've created. I am sort of a walk-in. That's in the sense that I really don't. I'm not even going to get into that. But
I mean, are you saying that that you're so detached from your physical body that in order for you to occupy it, you feel like as if you're not in the same house anymore?
I feel well. Here's what happened. Here's what I know. I checked out. Before the 2012 shift. And here's what I say to people too. Especially if you're spiritual, if I firmly believe that benevolent ETs and probably bad ones, they were all here doing some harvesting before the solstice, the 2012 solstice, taking souls, associated with them. That was your ascension. I think of it as an evacuation. I was evacuated out of here. What's left now? We're all basically mannequins, and it's going to get, like I say, I'm not going to keep beating a dead horse, especially when it's so ugly. But it's not good from here unless something really drastic happens for the better. But
what would be the thing that would be needed to happen for the better?
Major cosmic intervention. The good guys, something incredible, the likes of which I don't think have been seen in recorded history, would have to happen.
Would it help if people who've watching this somehow used positive intention to transmit a message saying help, for want of a better term?
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely.
We all got together and said help.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's very, very powerful, and especially if it can. And here, let me share something. One of the things I saw, and actually this was this year in 2013. This dimension that we're in, it's a synthetic, quarantined prison. That's what it is. And it's diminishing. It's actually like shrinking, and it's constricting, and it's getting even more fake, more plastic. Ascension is actually raging all around us, though. All outside of this planet, and in a way that I can't really articulate. So somehow, even here too, but this man-made, man-run prison that we're in is cut off from it, and it's becoming even. I guess we can't say deader. If something's dead, it's dead. But you get that idea. It's becoming even more plastic. While in fact it's moving in the opposite direction of ascension. It's descension. So it's very strange. But I saw that clearly
What can we
But
do?
following on your
Yeah.
point, what if and people really powerful people with powerful spirits, abilities, absolutely. If they don't give up, project out, do what you can. But I'm warning you. I'm warning you. Don't. And, it's almost a catch-22. We have to use the internet to communicate. We have to communicate with each other. But the downside of it is it's a gigantic spying apparatus and resource gathering tool used by the dark side. I'm just telling you, be very careful because they can access you. You won't even know it. I mean, maybe they'll leave you with a screen memory. When they're done with you one morning or something. But they can rip you off, and in the worst case scenario, they can do stuff to you like they've done to me. Um, but yes, but by all means, privately, do what you can.
How
And
can we
if you
collapse this grid? How can we change it? Switch off the electricity supplies, switch off the radio transmitters, the tetra,
that would
whatever.
basically do it. That would basically do it. If there was a massive EMP, they'd be screwed. And that's we were talking earlier why they're interested in psychics. True people who can actually really do stuff. That's why it's called contingency planning. And every major military group, unless they're complete fools, and they're not. They're smart people. They have an interest in this stuff. That's what they absolutely. But yes, if the grid went down, obviously there'd be pandemonium. We'd basically be swapping one hell on earth for another. But at least we'd be free. We'd have our minds would be free. And I can't tell
You see,
you how
this is
horrible
very
mind
expensive.
control is.
In Northern Ireland, which was being used as a test bed for many procedures, they did actually have two occasions when they almost switched the grid off. It was an isolated grid, but they eventually kept the entire grid just trickling over with a small generator which just kept it powered up. They were interested in when the grid collapses, it's the energy that's stuck in the grid, how it feeds back into the generating system and could blow it up. So if they actually switched it off, it would discharge effectively and cause massive destruction to the substations and things as the
Mhm.
system goes off. It's the
Right,
instability
right.
which is caused
I
when you
got
switch
it.
things off. In the same way, there's an instability when you switch things on. Uh,
Right. Sure.
but I'm suggesting that there's another intelligence actually existing in the electrical supply system as a neural net, as a form of artificial
Interesting.
intelligence.
It's interesting.
If by switching the grid off, that artificial intelligence itself is then deprived of a distribution system.
Yeah. That's interesting. But we'd have to assume if you're talking about a higher dimensional artificial intelligence, something that's not really from our system, they would have you'd have to assume they would have the capability of restoring it or doing whatever. But I mean, certainly, I mean, messing with it, punching it in the face, making it bleed, doing whatever. Yes, yeah, that's great.
I mean, one of the reasons I'm saying that is that everybody's been encouraged to have their own windmill or their own solar cells, but they're always kept on grid. They
Hmm.
don't want people to come off the grid. So the
Oh, I
grids,
got you. Right,
if you generate
right.
your own power, in fact, I think this is one of the
Yeah,
things which got this
yeah,
guy,
yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah. Right, right. Yeah, that's very interesting. And that getting in with smart meters and things. I recently, in trying to get away from this, um, I, w- I'm sorry, I'm kind of scatterbrained. There's so
Yes,
much
okay.
stuff to talk about, but in trying to get away from this mind control, which is absolutely horrible, I would rather, on the surface, I look okay. I guess I'm kind of cohesive. I can talk okay, but I mean, I'm not. I would rather be living under a bridge. I would rather be in almost any condition, and at least have my mind, have a free mind. I can't tell you how horrible this is, but in trying to you talk about slavery. People who don't have this don't know what slavery is. But in trying to get away from this, a little while ago, I went to a cave system close by. It's 26 stories beneath the earth, right? Now you would think that would I'd be free from them from there. They wouldn't be able to access me down there, but they did. Now one of the interesting things is there was electricity going down there. It's a commercial place, and they have they have computers and electricity down there. So it's not, obviously it's not military. But so along the lines of just following electricity, that's part of. And if we think about smart meters and things like that, how a lot of this stuff can travel just through electricity. So I guess following along that point, yes, if we could, that's very interesting, Miles. I mean, if there was a way that we could tamper with, that we could screw up,
well, it's like a lot of parasitic entities. You just make yourself taste bad, so it drops off.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly
Right.
I'd had a discussion with a couple of individuals, and they found that they had a certain symbol, a sort of certain set of symbols, and the Greys were using the electrical supply system to get into your house and as a mechanism for observing and doing whatever they're doing. And she was able to do it on her local power distribution board in her home and clean the whole place up. She then extended that to the local substation, which affected the local area. And that's when the Greys came in and says, no, not allowed to do that. You can do it at your own home, but not. So there is a mechanism of blocking things. And certainly when I had to do some electrical rewiring here, just simply switching the power off, the whole place suddenly was different. And I've seen, we had a lot of problems with certain servers in a company I used to work for. And they always used to shut down just at critical times. But we noticed that there were pulses on the electrical system itself, which looked like the same kind of pulses you'd see in a neuron firing in the brain. So I was suggesting that perhaps the electrical supply system is in fact a nervous system for an intelligence.
Well, in the bigger picture, it certainly is. And I mean, just from a logistical, from an engineering perspective, it has to be to run everything on this planet. I mean, obviously, if we just think about HARP, I mean, electricity fuels that, and we know how powerful that is. Shooting massive amounts of wattage into the Earth, and sky and everywhere else. Yeah, that's an excellent point.
And then the broadcasting system, FM, AM radio, and then the cell phone systems correspondingly being an upgraded version of that.
Right. Sure. I mean, it's all frequencies. That's all it is. It's waves.
But waves with a certain amount of intention.
If there was a way, here's the problem with that, though, and I encourage you to read these links because.
Okay, we can go into these links now. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm somewhat
the first one I'm looking at is the MI5 agent Dr. Barry Trower. Is that the one that you want to talk about? It?
I think that one, but in particular, actually the Swedish one.
whitetv.se.
That is a Swedish one, but there's another one. It's EU panel, transhumanism, robotize, and they use my. Same word I can
right, okay. The EU panel, human robotization. There's a thing there like a pizza in there. No, that's an advert. That's nothing to do with the damn thing at all.
Yeah, but no, they nailed in there. There's a guy named Magnus Olsson, and he's got a group called, I think it's European Coalition Against Covert Harassment.
Yeah,
and this gentleman's gonna take the hit for me if you all listen to that video.
Assuming that we're able to play this, could you go over this now?
It's too long. It's too long to play. It's probably like an hour video.
It's almost 2 hours. Essentially, it's EU panel, human robotization, nano implant technology, and transhumanization. agenda.
Right.
And it
Right.
features Paul Magnus Olsen, Dr. Henning Huit, and Melanie Vritskan from the European Coalition Against Covert Harassment with
Yeah.
Alfred Weber, Exopolitics.
Yeah. If you this is the $1 trillion secret. If you watch this, you'll get it. There's no escape, and this is what I was pointing to. So let's say you have an idea, for interfering with the grid somehow, for introducing some kind of agent into it or disrupting it, doing something that's going to create problems. Here's the problem. You can't keep it a secret. They're reading your mind instantly. You're going to be picked up. First of all, anyone who would even think this, who's watching this right now, who has any interest in this, anyone who's a potential problem for them or a potential asset for them, they are being remotely neurally monitored. They're already under remote neural monitoring. They don't know it. They aren't being harassed. They have no clue. But
Yeah.
what's going to happen is the bad guys, the dark side, they're going to say, oh, interesting, great. And they're going to let you go ahead and start developing it and learn from it and see what you're doing and use your ideas. And then they're going to screw you. They're going to screw it all up and take it, they're going to say, oh, thanks for fixing that loophole and giving us these new ideas. That's the problem we've got.
Yeah. Okay, what's the next one? There's another link here.
Yeah, there's another one. I think that's the one from. I think her name is Deborah Tavares, and she talks about the leaked NASA document, the NASA war document.
Yeah, that's done by
I can
Anthony
tell you.
Hilda. This is the one done by Anthony Hilda. Interviewed
Okay,
emergency NASA warfare.
that's it. Right,
Okay.
right. That sounds. That title. Almost sounds like a spoof, and I don't have that document in front of me. And again, like I say to anyone, question everything, find out for yourself. I can just say that from what I know personally, that everything she mentions in there is absolutely correct. The technologies, the
Essentially,
overall the overall plans, it's right.
this is a NASA document which was available on the NASA website, but she's actually got a hard copy and is referring to it. I think it's very important for people to understand that anytime you see something on the internet, don't just say the link, say the actual page. So that the actual contents of the
Right.
page, you have a physical separate
That's
copy.
right.
And obviously keep that off your computer on an external drive if you want to make sure it's still going to be there. What essentially is this particular NASA document about?
What it basically describes, I think we were talking privately earlier. You mentioned something about the 2045 agenda.
Yes, yeah.
It's
Which
it's
there was
it's,
a big
ba- it's
meeting of that in
basically
New York
it's
this week.
it's basically along those lines, but it's very brazen. What it says is that humans are basically dumbasses, and they have too many problems, and they're inefficient, etc., and they need to be replaced with cyborgs, and also it gets into the overall theme of who's going to get to live and who's not, and the whole concept behind basically poisoning people, giving them, in their words, not if they're too stupid, we'll give them what they want. They can have a choice. They can consume what they need, foods and things that are healthy for them, rather than just things that they want. So it's about the liquidation, and it mentions cancer is a hoax, which it is. I can tell you personally,
In what?
if you're in the club, if you're an asset, it's true what she says. They don't get cancer. We don't get cancer. It's not. It's a joke. It's a total joke. That's another subject by itself. But you
I
get
mean,
the
the way that
idea.
cancer's induced and everybody gets it, but if you want to get rid of it, you have to go through an even. Yeah. chemical.
It's ridiculous. I think the statistics show that you actually have the same survival rate if you do nothing, as opposed to if you get let them radiate you, put radiation in you, and cut you open and do all kinds of stuff like that. You actually have the same survival rate as if you do nothing, just But I can tell you that it actually what one of my controllers told me, one of my handlers told me one time is what we have. It's not a healthcare system; it's wildlife management. And cancer is part of it, and they make untold billions of dollars with it. Think about how I was going to say laughable. That's an inappropriate term, but I'm thinking about how ridiculous it is. All of a sudden, it's like you're almost expected to get cancer, and this statistics now. I don't know what they are. I think I heard 1 out of 2. Maybe that's wrong, but it's just ridiculous. It's become mimetic now, where it's almost like a rite of and it becomes this big ordeal, and you've got to go through. It's just understood, you're going to
Oh God, you have cancer.
go to the hospital and all this stuff and all this, but they can knock it out like that. It's a joke, and it doesn't even have to happen in the first place. So.
How do they knock it out like that? Hydrogen peroxide or what? Or
actually, there are homemade remedies I've heard, but no, the powers that be, the medical system that they have, the advanced medical system, and I couldn't talk intelligently about it. I'm not a doctor, but I think probably through the oncogenes, that's probably it, through this the toggling of the oncogenes. But all I know is it's just a way of.
If you're going to die, the least you can do is make as much
keeping
money
the
out of it.
population down. It's a way of keeping the population down. Yeah.
Well, they're not being very successful. Some would argue the population's getting out of hand. It's huge.
That's true. That's right. It is. We're over 7 billion. But nonetheless, that's what this document says. And the various pesticides, the junk foods and the Monsanto and things along that line. And the document goes into that in pretty good detail. She does a good job presenting it.
And meanwhile, that document's at least 10 or 12 years old.
I would guess. I think that's right. I think she said from 2000 or something like that, 1999. I don't know.
Okay, there's another link that you're referring to, the research laboratory. Is that the next one?
Let's see, which one is that?
Google's chief engineer. People will soon upload their entire brains to computers.
I think that's from. Is that the nano implants?
Yeah, it's research laboratory. Yeah, the complete loading. This is really the 2045 agenda, really.
I think that's probably the nano implant. Right, and actually, my understanding is that's already you can already do that, through cryogenics and mind uploading.
Yeah. But is this really to protect the existing elite so they can hang around a bit longer?
Yeah, hell yeah.
And the rest of us, of course, won't matter.
I've got a clone, and we could talk about. They're telling me to shut up.
Go ahead.
About synthetics. I would just say they don't want me to. I would just say, it's interesting. Take a good look at the political leaders, the big ones. Look at them closely. I think immortality is already achieved. You don't really have to die. They can just make a new version of you.
Well, Henry Kissinger's looking well for his age. The Queen Mum lasted 101 years.
That's the thing that came to my mind. Soros, the rest of them. That's right. Kissinger was he's way up there. And
I think is it called life extension technology or whatever.
Yeah. There's right. Yeah. It's a completely different playing field. Yeah, what they have and what the public has, right?
And the other one then is Dangerous radiation everywhere. Dr. Barry Trower on whitetv.se. MI5 agent. That's, I think, one of the other links.
Hmm. Yeah, and
Former
I think
MI5 agent Barry Trower is a physicist who worked for British intelligence. He's quite an elderly man, but he's obviously retired. Can you say anything about that? Wi-Fi technology, microwave radiation in our cell phone, things like that.
I think that one just in general goes into, and again, it's just sort of a primer to explain to that we are completely defenseless, and as you know, the saying goes, I think it was coined by a Russian general that in this field, the mind has no firewall.
Yes.
We are completely defense, and I can attest to that, and how horrific, how absolutely horrible it is when you've got a team of people reading your thoughts, your emotions, and interacting with them, interjecting them, and you have no privacy. They know your life history, everything about you. They can control you down to a cellular level. Instead of having real dreams, which I have not had a real dream since probably fall of 2011. No real dreams. I can't tell you, especially for someone who's very spiritual like me, to be cut off from that is absolutely hellish. They can and do create synthetic dreams every night. They've done most of them, most often some form of nightmare, because they don't like me. But sometimes they can go the other way. They can create awesome, really incredible dreams too, and they also have the ability to fix you, to do, they neuronally, they can program you. They can actually fix a lot of the damage that they do to you. So if anyone's wondering, how can this guy, look halfway healthy and sound halfway articulate and stuff if he's been through all this? Torture victims don't look like this. Well, there you go, and that's part of the plausible part of the deniability. They can sustain you. They call it a silent weapon, silent techniques. They can sustain you and keep you going. But remember what you're a resource to them, just like a cow or a pig is a resource to a farmer, right? So they're going to take care of it, but in the end, they're going to, when they're not, they're going to slaughter it or whatever. So,
Yeah.
that's part of how they do it.
So this has been basically a 2-year run for you on
Yeah.
this.
It started in 2010 with, again, I call it, I don't like to, it's branch A of the military. Obviously, there's two, Army and Air Force. I'll let the listener try and take a guess. Started with them. It started with fake alien abductions.
Well, how did that
Graves,
manifest? How did you identify
things
that?
like that. Well, I had the first one. It happened, in my sleep, and it is indeed an abduction. It's some form of teleportation.
Did you actually teleport, or were you? Was it the whole thing induced by blue beam or whatever you want to call it?
I don't. Actually, this is a subject it's a technology. I'm kind of like Sergeant Schultz from the Hogan Secrets. I know nothing. I don't want to know, because if you do understand that, this is like the one of the biggest secrets, and if you will absolutely never you have no chance if you understand all that. So, there's bilocation. I know I've got a clone. They can, obviously, that's one possibility. Just syncing through that, transmitting consciousness back and forth. Tons of possibilities with nanotech involved, and but again, there's teleportation too. And I'm going to stop right there. I'm not going to.
Well, I've seen somebody operate with that sort of technology. What do you think is that alien or?
No, I think that's a cover story. I think I'm not going to be dogmatic about it and say that there's no alien technology. All I know is that it sounds really fishy. It's so it sounds like good CIA cover type stuff that they came up with a long time ago to keep this the whole to keep it an enigma. Well, maybe ETs exist, maybe they don't. And the military, they get a lot of stuff from the ETs, and I to be honest, I don't really know, but I think a whole lot of it is fake. They use it as a cover story. It's really just very advanced man-made stuff, science. But I could be wrong. I don't know. It really doesn't matter in the end. I mean, the
but
point is
if you've met,
they have it and they can do.
I mean,
They
if
can
you've
do all
met
this stuff.
ETs and you've had experiences with light beings, surely that is.
That's it. That's right. There are indeed absolutely. I'm here to say there are real ETs. You bet. I don't know what to do to be more emphatic about that. I've experienced them personally. Absolutely.
And what is the
But
difference?
all I know is that they fake it too. The military they do. It's a good cover. Think about it. If you want to I'm getting myself into hot water. We're not supposed to talk about this, but if you wanted to abduct someone, right, and you wanted to make them think they were special, you wanted to use them and kind of bring them in or whatever, what would be a great way to and you had to make it think about that. What would be a great way to camouflage it and really confuse the hell out of them and make them think that it wasn't. Isn't it
abduct them.
funny? Isn't it funny? Millabs. You're seeing greys and reptilians and things like that. Then all of a sudden you start seeing guys in military uniforms and lab coats. I don't know. I'm not going to be dogmatic. And
I mean,
I'll just let the listener connect the dots.
This is something which going back to the very beginning of this research project, which I've called the Basis Series, is Barry King was talking about this in 1993, in that they were running these knockoff greys in British underground bases and then using them for population control related MyLabs.
Mm-hmm.
And we never believed a word he said. And I mean, do you think that that's really what's going on now?
Yeah, I mean, certainly they can do holographic. Like I say, when they have the mind control technology is unbelievable. What they can do with your brain, they can play movies, holographic movies in your mind, which are extraordinarily lifelike, extraordinarily.
Yeah.
So you would get the impression, absolutely, that you actually had a particular experience. With say tall grays, which I've had, or this whatever it might be.
So I mean, are you saying that in those encounters with the tall greys were real or projected into your mind?
If I had, oh man, I'm gonna get my
It's perfectly okay. The only people who are going to see this are you and me. There's nobody else watching.
Okay. Well, it's
can
no, it was fake. Yeah, it was probably projected into my mind, but it's very interesting when you're waking up. They can play these mind movies, and so when you're coming to when you're coming to consciousness, it almost can seem like there's a presence, like they might actually even be in the room. Right there.
How would you determine that? How would you feel, or what would you be looking for?
Well, I mean, it's so hard to articulate because it's in your mind. But I mean, if that were the case, it's like it's in your mind's eye, but it's also I don't know what you could physically look for, what you could do, but what signs you could look for is,
Little squiggles of light or things like that, things you see out of your peripheral vision, or
right. I can't think of. I'm trying to remember it. This goes back mostly to 2010. What I would look for is the characters being overly human, and there being a mixture of ET characters and humans, and especially if they're leaving you with a message of some kind, then I don't know. No, I can't think graphically of what it would be. But
So there's no signature that you could look for, which would determine, he's an ET, or this is a hologram, or whatever.
I can't put my finger on it, but that's what you used the right word. It's a hologram. That's what it is. So I guess it appears completely real. However they pull it off, whether it's a combination of hidden equipment that might be in your room or around you, which they can do, and or there's some programming going on in your mind too. They're playing some kind of movie, and however they do it. But I don't know how you could determine
And did
it.
you directly experience these things?
Yes. Sure.
But you were somehow able to determine that this was not a real event.
Actually, I don't know how I could say how I could verify one way or another that it wasn't real. I would say that it's. I guess I'm being kind of biased. I'm saying that it's not. My impression, my belief is that it wasn't real, but maybe
It was a
maybe
gut
it was.
feeling. A gut feeling.
Oh, I know. It wasn't a gut feeling. It's more my view and other things that I've heard, just piecing it all together. But for all I know, I mean, maybe it was real.
Okay,
Maybe
well,
it was, but I just don't know. I don't know.
Getting back to this book, can we go through this basically in the last 10 minutes to really what is the intention of the book, and why did you write it? I mean, I picked this up at the Super Soldier Summit run by Lorian Fenton, and we're very grateful for Lorian that we've been able to make contact.
Right.
What's the beef about this book that you've got?
Well, the beef is it's my story. It's what's happened to me since pretty much the mid 2000s. The experiences that I've had, and in particular the hardcore. I mean, the really big picture is ascension related stuff. That is the overall big picture, and it's a message to starseeds. And it's telling people, my story and what's happened and what I know to be true. And it's about the horror of mind control, of electronic mind control, which essentially is torture, and that it's all set up. Everything is in place. It's coming. In fact, in one of these videos. It's the Weber video where he's interviewing Magnus Olson. I don't know where he gets this number from, but he's saying he believes that up to 85% of the human population is already tagged. I guess through nano technology to be communicated with, to be remote controlled. So it's a message. It's a warning about that. And it's my story.
Is there any way of blocking these implants? Zapping them?
No. That's a great question. I read a theory. There's a website called dataasylum.com, and that guy has an interesting theory, and he knows what's going on.
That's dataasylum.com.
Yes, and he's got a theory that actually, if you induce an electrical charge into the body, and then you do it in a way where obviously it's not going to hurt you too much, but yes, you can discharge, you can disable the implants. To my knowledge, that would be the only way. There's really nowhere to run the scalar wave technology. Mostly they can fall back on fraying, on microwave type stuff.
Yeah.
But it's so powerful. This stuff can beam, I mean, deep into the earth. There's
Yes,
no
the important thing about
it can
scalar waves
penetrate.
is that they can go
It,
deep.
yeah, the only thing that's really going to work is a military grade frequency jammer, which I think in some places are illegal for civilians, and they're cost prohibitive. They would start at probably 25 grand, and
You're talking basically a very powerful white noise generator on the RF band.
yeah, something like that, right? And it might end up frying half the electronics in your
Yeah.
neighborhood stuff, but it's horrific. Essentially there's no escape from it. So the horror of what's been done to me, the tortures, and the fact that they could do this to anybody, and the broader implications, the broader ramifications, and that let me rephrase that. Not the fact that they can do this, the fact that they are going to do it. And everyone already is configured. You look at a human as a computer. Well, you're now pre-configured. Guess what? You've got this stuff in you. The proverbial chip, the mark of the beast chip. Everyone thinks about the size of a grain of rice. I don't think that's needed anymore.
I think
it's already
they just
through nanofibers and whatever. It's already everyone's already set.
in other words, you as a biophysical entity has a signature with your.
You got it.
So
actually,
that's
it's through the
enough.
DNA. You got it. Actually, it's through the DNA. Your DNA signature is like an antenna, and they can track you. That's how they can single you out anywhere and communicate with you. And this stuff is perfected. It's absolutely perfected.
Which is, of course, the
It's
reason
not-
why they
not
need
future
DNA
stuff.
samplings from the population.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any way to fight this?
In my opinion, no. I don't know what.
I mean, you're not very happy. You haven't. I don't think I've seen a smile yet. Maybe one.
I'm not happy. I'm glad to be alive. Although, in a way, it's really not life. It's more like existence. They've kind of taken the life out of me. But I'm a warrior, and so that's why I
I mean, the logic to the situation
I've-
is that they've done this to you, and you've written the book, right? So they know you've written
That's
the book.
it.
So they know that you're telling
Yeah.
us. So
yeah, everything.
is this
Right.
only designed for certain people to see?
No, it's out there. It's for the public. You can find it on Amazon. It's everywhere. No, it is absolutely for everyone. However, that said, how many regular people are gonna read
Yeah.
this? They're gonna think it's something you find next to a tabloid. So, but the specific target actually is for starseeds. That's who I feel closest to, and that's who I want to reach the most.
Essentially,
By means anyone. It's a true story. It's anyone who can take it and can do and can learn from it. Do it. And I've got tips in there, by the way, for targeted individuals in general, especially with synthetic telepathy, on how to fight it, on what to do. Your best chance of getting out of it is initially when they first start hitting you with it. If you react in a very unconventional way, if you basically just flip out and start doing radical things, that's your best bet. But I give specific advice in there about
can
it.
you summarize that now?
Sure. What you don't want to do is what I did. Now they obviously I had already been through Millab stuff, and I knew stuff was going on. But when they started talking to me, I kind of denied it. I kind of like went into the I pretended that it wasn't happening. You don't want to do that. Instead, what you want to do, you want to flip out and say, holy shit, someone's talking to me. And if they can do that, what else can they do? They can read my mind. They can do all kinds of stuff. So you want to treat it the same way that you would treat a heart attack. Everything stops. You do not go into work that day. You don't carry on as usual. You flip out. Um, now, when I say that, let me be really clear. Do not call the police. Don't call relatives. Definitely do not call anyone in the so-called mental health field. Those are the things that they want you to do. They want you to self-destruct. They want you to become extremely frustrated and do things that are going to screw you up. What you do instead, you do things to shock them. And this sounds really shocking. It sounds, what you might do is fake suicide. Get a gun, make sure it's unloaded. Get a gun, get a knife, do whatever. You want to flip out right away. Let me say this right away. If you're in America, contact Freedom from Covert Harassment. Do a search, find that website, contact them, get information. Actually, that's the first thing you do. Contact them instantly. If you're in Europe, contact a similar group over there. And
so just give us that website again, or that organization.
The one in the U.S. is Freedom from Covert Harassment. I don't have the full URL, but if you search on that, you will find it. It'll come up as the first hit. And so do that. They'll be in for an unpleasant surprise because you're going to start taking the right steps. What else? There's stuff you can do to really revolt them, to really make them sick.
In other words, feed back a load of grief back to them.
Feedback, because especially if it's military, if they're reading it's like an avatar type system, at least the one that I'm in, and probably most of them. You've got operators, controllers who experience exactly what you do. And if you're looking at something really disgusting, just start thinking about the most disgusting things you can and the worst experiences you've had in your life.
I think it's important to mention
everything you can think about. Go into really sensual detail in your mind and try and get it. So it takes some work, but you'll hear them scream. You'll actually hear them.
Can you scream and say thoughts back to them?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How do you do that? Mm-hmm. Apart from typing in capital letters, how do you do that?
Emotion, raw emotion. They read that. Scream internally. Scream as loud as you can. F you.
Yeah, but this is important because a British agent who was in a similar situation to yourself, who was essentially press ganged in Belfast to join the British Psy Corps, for want of a better word, he was taken to meet a non-human, I believe, possibly in Germany. It was 3 hours flight time. That non-human interrogated his mind, and he got hit. Mm-hmm. He basically told, in good Belfast parlance, to feck away off, to really angrily reject him using a strong expletive. And this thing didn't like it. It wasn't some kind of an alien. Mm-hmm. I think it was some kind of non-human creature of some kind.
Right.
And he was interrogated. He was flown 3 hours in a private jet, escorted by 2 agents, brought to this base, 3 hours flight time from Belfast, wherever that would be. It was at a civil airport. The plane landed, he walked in, and he had this interrogation. The whole interrogation, you could feel it getting into his mind, and he was able to really tell it to fuck off. Really, it just broke communication. Right. That was the end of the interaction, and then he was put back in the plane, flown back to Belfast. That was a 3-hour flight for all of about 2 to 3 minutes, but for some reason it needed to be done in person with this creature, with this being, whatever it was. He never told me what the being was, but I think it was a mistake to call it an alien. But I think that's one positive way of getting these people out of your head. Briefly, in the last few minutes, because we're going to have to close up here. Literally, we've got about 2 or 3 minutes left. Anything final you want to get across on this one? And we can always do another part at some period of time. Basis 26, I think this is. Or maybe 27. But anything final to say?
Uh, Again, my warning for star seeds: if you do experience ascension-related um, energies, or you have experienced them, as if you have had contact with benevolent ETs, please consider that you are a very valuable resource. Consider the times we're in, and that there was/is a spiritual war going on. Again, my fear is that it's basically over, and that we're in bad shape, and something incredible needs to happen to reverse it. But consider those conditions, and try and take a Fabian uh, approach. I think things look bad, and hopefully I'm very wrong. Hopefully I'm very wrong in general. But this is my story, and I hope it helps people. I hope if I can save some lives, if I can get anyone out of this, especially nip it in the bud before it happens.
In other words,
then
if you are starseed, stay below the radar, regroup in secret,
Right.
communicate with no one using any electrical means whatsoever, and keep quiet and lay low.
Right. That's it. That's basically it. Because what you have is super special. And that's what they want. As tempting, as natural as it is to want to share, just take a long look back through history. What's happened to many people who have stood out, who've reached out and tried to help, who have been different and been special. What's happened to them? I'm sure
We're
exceptions,
rapidly
but
running
they
out of
end up
time.
nailed
So
to
the
it.
message is, if you've got psychic abilities and you are a person of extreme ability, just lay low, regroup, keep quiet.
Use them, but don't publish. Don't talk a lot about it.
Okay, well, thanks very much indeed. This is a tremendous privilege to talk to you, Sam. This book is How Black Ops Military Stopped Ascension, Transhumanization, End of the Human Era. Happy title, but we're out of time, out of tape. And I'm going to be clearing down there. We're going to go to see some UFO people in London who are, shall we say, skeptical, there to make sure nobody finds out about anything. But thank you for talking. Good luck and God bless. Okay.
My pleasure. Appreciate that. Thank you.